first person we get to introduce. I never saw this individual play, but I will say that I've been at Bethany for about 23 years now, and as I travel around, and people, a lot of times they're going to assume I'm involved with athletics because of the connection to art and things like that. So sports will come up very quickly in discussions with Bethany athletics. And when you bring up the name of Anthony Bias, usually there's a big smile on the face, and then everybody's eyes go up. Mr. Bias, apparently you were one of those guys that played above the rim, as they say. You had some springs. You still do, that's right. That's what we're here tonight for, people, yes. That's right. Well, you're just selective about it. You are selective. But I will tell you this, everybody in the Hall of Fame is certainly very deserving. I'm not going to underestimate that by any means. Your name, clearly, talking to alumni come up, tonight we're taking care of this because you need to be in the Bethany Lutheran Viking Athletic Hall of Fame. You were a fantastic player. I'm going to let the people who are going to introduce you speak to your ability here. Anthony, after Bethany, of course, he came to Bethany by way of out in the Milwaukee, Wisconsin area. Went after Bethany to Wright State, where he was a 2-year starter, and in fact helped Wright State win an NCAA Division II national championship. Graduated with a degree in marketing, and has been employed with Allstate Insurance Company since 1984. He and his wife Janice have 2 children, and they currently reside down in Charlotte, North Carolina. And with the opportunity to introduce and for us to be able to present Anthony Bias, we're going to start things off here with his former head coach, Ron Young.
Thanks, Don. You're probably wondering about this paper I'm bringing up here. These are not all notes that I plan to talk about. They're actually stat sheets. And I have to be reminded of some of the stats that Anthony acquired while he was here. Before I do that, though, I want to congratulate Lisa, Kelly, and Dee Dee on being inducted in the Hall of Fame. It was fun for me as a former basketball coach to watch these young women play the game. And as we talked about possible candidates for the Hall of Fame, their names came up really quickly, and I'm really glad you're here, and it's fun to see you and your families here as well. But getting on to Anthony, I was looking back and thinking back. It was the spring of 1979, and that's 35 years ago. That's a long time. It just struck me that how long it's been. But we were just coming off 2 very successful seasons where we had won 33 ball games in those two years. So we had a thing going at that particular time. We had some very good teams. And the problem, however, was that we had just graduated 5 sophomores. The whole starting 5 was gone. So we're looking at the fall of '79 with 2 players returning that played significant time. One of them's here tonight. Lyle Jones was one of them, and Dan Erdman was the other. And these 2 guys played a lot, but were not in the starting lineup. But we played 7 guys. And they were very instrumental. So I had the foundation of a team, but we needed players. And so very fortunately, we ended up with 4 that contributed significantly over the next 2 years. Marty Matthews, point guard, a good friend of Anthony's. David Krantz, 6'8" kid from Wisconsin Lutheran, really turned out to be a very good player. Probably wasn't too polished at the beginning, but became a really strong player. Jimmy Vins, who came that year and didn't start that year, but played a lot the next year. And then, of course, Anthony. And the next year, we lost, of course, Dan and Lyle, but then it was Jimmy Wall and Mike Canary who kind of filled in, and all of a sudden we had 2 years going for us. And as I was telling some of the guys at the table, Those were two of the easiest years in my coaching career, 19 seasons. Because number one, we had a really good starting five, and we weren't very deep. So you just put them out there on the floor, and they'd have to play 30, 35 minutes of the game. And fortunately, we didn't have a lot of injuries, and they played very well. We won 37 games in the next 2 years, and as I said, those were really great years. Some divisional championships and some state tournament appearances. Lots of highlights. Coaches from the coaching community still talk about a dunk that Anthony had in a state tournament game. Years later, they remembered that. And I don't know if you guys would remember, there was also David Krantz had a block in that one game that they talked about. Oh, yeah, you remember Krantz and Bias and that dunk. I don't know how he got to the basket. Things like that. It was really fun. Anyhow, Anthony was right in the middle of those 2 years and just did a tremendous job. Again, I'm probably taking too much time, but I was looking back at the stat sheets from those 2 years. And the first year, and let me see here, we had 24 games. He led us in shots taken, shots made, shooting percentage, free throws taken, free throws made, total points, 513 points that first year, 21.4 average, 86 fouls, he led us in fouls, 308 rebounds. Now I see some of the teams now, and they say, gee, you got eight rebounds. Boy, that was really good. 8 rebounds? Well, maybe if you only play half a game, 8 rebounds is pretty good. These guys had to play all the time. So, we're looking at 12 to 15 rebounds a game for him. This is what really defined him, I think. Assists, 122 assists. 122 assists for a guy who's playing in the front line. Great passer. And as he went on to Wright State, and we had a chance to watch him on ESPN, he still had it. He was a distributor of the ball. He didn't need to score all the time. While he could, and there are many stories I could tell about that, but I won't. Defensive points, we had a way of keeping track of defensive points. And in that first year, he had 600 defensive points, which is really, it was about double of anybody else in the team. The second year, same thing. His percentages, his field goal percentages went up. His free throw percentages went up, 76%. His field goal was 52%. His scoring per game went up, 26 points a game. His fouls went down. Rebounds, up. Assists, 140 assists. And defensive points, 746. Which brings me to my point that in junior college basketball, you always want that second year to be better. But I had no idea, when you start out with a really good freshman year, you're not sure that there's going to be improvement. But that was one of the things that Anthony exhibited, I think, was the ability to get better. I think one of the reasons that we were able to convince him to come and play for us here was the opportunity to become a better basketball player. And he certainly did blossom as a basketball player. But beyond that, he was a good student, totally dependable. I don't know if he ever had an injury. We just didn't. If he did, he didn't say so. Very organized. I think the reason he's been successful is he kind of plans to be successful. And that's been a hallmark of him. And a success after Bethany, both at Wright State University, winning a national championship, beating the #1 ranked team, and then on to a career in insurance, same company, for all these years, very successful. And so I guess my final comment is just to thank Anthony and really the rest of you guys that are here who were his teammates and made it such an enjoyable experience for me as a coach. And I'd also like to recognize Coach Battisti and Coach Rosine and Coach Peterman. They were the guys that were with me and helping with the coaching. So with that, I'll turn it over to Marty Matthews. Now, Marty was our point guard, and Marty was a spokesman for the team, I think, in a lot of ways. He always kept things loose, except for one time when he told me he wasn't going to foul out, and he did, in a state tournament game. Never fouled out, didn't foul out any other game. That happened to foul out that game. Anyway, congratulations, Anthony. Your induction into the Hall of Fame was an easy decision for the committee. And I'll turn it over to Marty Matthews. Marty?
I'm going to start off by saying congratulations to the other 3 inductees. So congratulations. And with all that time Ron just took, I think I only had 30 seconds. And everyone knows I could talk for a while. I got plenty of Snickers here if y'all want to be here for a while. So, but other than that, I totally concur with pretty much everything Ron said. Anthony was pretty much the catalyst that started the influx of Milwaukee players to this fine institution. Along with that, he did bring good leadership, very good students. Actually, we were roommates for 2 years. It was a 2-year program when we were here. And as a student, being in Anthony, we same roommates. I would come back to the room and he would say, you know, once you sit down, finish your work, and be quiet. I said, okay, really? So I did all my studying in the library there, so I just stayed away from him. So I pretty much just let him do his own thing. Other than that, he didn't have a lot to say to you. He's definitely a gentleman with succinct appeal. Don't speak a lot, don't talk. We were childhood friends. Heck, he lived around the corner from me, still didn't talk to me that much then. I think within the 2 years I was here, he probably said 200 words to me. That's 100 words a year, from August to May. So he didn't even speak to me, so think nothing of it, guys, if he don't say a lot. You know, I'm putting a lot of pressure on him, because I told Don, I said, Don, I'm not going to speak long. I'm putting it back on him, because he actually told me to present his Hall of Fame speech, and I told him, no, do your own. So, and I promised Don, I said, I'm going to be short. I'm going to surprise him. I'm not going to speak long. So other than that, I think it was a great choice. I think he was a perfect fit for the program at that time. Him and I were roommates. We had fun together. And I think it's a great choice. And now I'm getting ready to present Anthony Bias.
Hello, everyone. I, too, want to congratulate all of the other inductees, and I also want to agree with what each of them said in a little way. Pretty much everything Ron said, I want to agree with him. And I'm going to come back to Ron because I have something planned for Ron in my speech. I pretty much want to agree with one thing that Marty said, well, 2, and then I'm going to disagree with 1. 1, I am extremely quiet. Everyone that knows me knows that. Even here today, one of my main buddies on the basketball team, Mike Canary, when I got back, he came over to the hotel. A lot of people don't know this, but before each game, our team was normally, they were tight. And I had to figure out a way to loosen everybody up. So Mike Canary used to come over to my room for every game. And even though with all of this domestic abuse in the NFL and Peterson and all that situation, this was a little different because I had his consent to punch him. So I punched him, and after that, it's like we started boxing before every game. He never won, but I just found out, he told Ron today, the reason he never won was because my arms were longer than his. So, but it's like people like that made everything enjoyable for me. So even though I don't say a lot, I'm thinking about what's being said around me. So that's why I was happy today to come down with a great group of guys. I'm going to start off with the people in the far back. Rod Robertson. That's my tailor, y'all. Fulton Williams, right behind him. We used to play basketball in high school. I don't know if there was any bakery or pastry on the table, but don't turn your back on him. He stole my Twinkie. He was a 21-point per game scorer, but he stole my Twinkie, and after that, I never turned my back on him. That's why he's sitting at that table. My buddy Jim Wall, somebody else on the team that kept me loose, because I couldn't play unless I was loose. I've never played a game in which I was scared. Just like now, I'm a little nervous, a little scared. I wish Mike Canary was here to keep me loose for what's going on right now. This table in the pink, if you can stand up, Marty, help him up. Now that guy, he's out of all my friends, he's the oldest. He used to play basketball back in the early 30s. He played with my great-grandfather and his father before him. When I first met him, he was about 80, and I had just started playing basketball. I was about 3 or 4 at that time. Mary Young is just like a mother to me, and I'm going to come back to Mary and Ron in the closing, and then obviously Marty. And the thing that I said about Marty, that I can agree with some of the things he said, but one thing I can't is he said something about the library he just finished. He didn't even know where the library was. But with that being said, as far as my basketball career, I want to thank everybody for pushing me forward, nominating me, selecting me. Pam, I don't know if Pam is here. She's not here. Believe it or not, even though she was on the ladies' team, she motivated me. That was one of the people I was looking at as far as motivating me. But I could never do the things that she was doing. Individually, she might score 38, 40 points, and then I said, I think I might do that tonight, and then I might end up with 10 or whatever. So I had to get off of her and just pick somebody else. We have Don Henderson, also nicknamed Coon. You can sit down. I was just going to say your name. But he motivated me. And behind Don is Kurt. He motivated me because he would always push us around when we play against him in pickup games. But he could never push me around and motivate me to the point that some of my other teammates did. So I took a look at certain things in teammates and family and friends, and this is what I always surround myself with. So I don't have to do a lot of talking, and it's the same for my basketball game. Like Ron said, I'm a distributor. Even though I can score and score a lot, because a lot of people don't know because I didn't say anything, but I've scored over 100 points in the game. Just trying to say, I want to see if I can do that, and I did it, but that was after college. I'm a pass-first player, and that's all I guess I'm ever going to be as far as a basketball player, and it's pretty much doing the same thing when I'm meeting people. I may not say a lot, and that's on purpose. I observe a lot to find out what's going on. But one of the main things that brought me, and this is where I'll disagree with Ron, one of the main things that brought me to Bethany, it's like I could have gone anywhere, but it was Ron. Some people will say athletics, some people will say academics. I took a look at it as a whole package, and one of the main things I was looking for was somebody that I can trust. If I don't trust you, I can't be around you. You really can't be around me. Ron took the time to figure out how to get to me, just like Art, any of the players that were on the team, and it made it a family. And then we went over Ron's house during breaks. Mary was there like another mother to me. So all I want to say today to finish this, I don't know how long I've been up here. I was thinking when I got up here, I would probably have this be the quickest as far as any inductee ever. Get up here, you probably would have only heard me say, thank you, God bless, good night. But I just had to get that out and say, thanks everybody for coming. Thanks everybody for supporting me, motivating me. My main motivation for basketball, and this is where I'm going to bring this to a close. The reason Marty and I are great friends is because when I first got into basketball, I didn't play. I knew absolutely nothing about organized basketball, but Marty did. Marty was the star. Emphasize the word was. He was the star at that time. He told me that when we go to the tournament and we play, there's going to be a banquet after the conference tournament. So he said, everyone gets a trophy. Keep in mind, I didn't play that much on the team, but he said, everyone gets a trophy. So we get to the banquet, and I didn't know it at the time, but the only reason he invited me to come and said that everyone gets a trophy is because at the end of the night, he had 6 trophies, and he didn't have a lot of people to help him carry them. So he had on a yellow 2-piece suit, and he didn't want to get his suit dirty. So here I am carrying 6 trophies, and all the way home, I said, he said everyone gets a trophy. So from that day forward, anytime I played basketball, I had to figure out a way that when I'm out there doing what I do, loving to have fun, I had to figure out a way to get at least 1 trophy. And I turned that into a reality, especially my sophomore year here, where at the end of the banquet, I walked home. He carried the trophies that I won. The only problem was, at that time, I pretty much won all of the trophies. So I think Ron and everybody got together. They built it into 1 trophy. So it was a real big one. And he's carrying the trophy home. And then I said, Marty, remember that first time I was on your basketball team and you said everyone gets a trophy? He said, hey, yeah, I remember. I said, I forgot to tell you this. On the way to the banquet, I should have told you everybody gets a trophy. But your trophy is built into mine because I'm going to share this trophy with you for the rest of my life. Anytime I get out on the basketball court, you are the motivation. I hear the same thing each time. And going back to Ron before I make this final, out of all of my coaches, Ron was the only one that I said to myself I couldn't let down because Ron had the integrity, the character, everything that you would look for in a coach/father figure. So once again, I want to thank Ron, Art, everyone else that pushed me forward, that motivated me in any kind of way to be the player that I turned out to be, and obviously the person that I turned out to be. Thank you.
All right. Our next inductee, I do remember playing a little bit. And Dorn, magical name, magical player. This gal, she could rain threes. She would get it in the front court. And I'm not saying she was always looking to shoot as soon as she crossed the half-court line, but when she got near that arc, there was a good chance if she had an angle, she was going to put the shot up and she would drain it. She would throw daggers at other teams because just when they thought they were going to get back into a contest, you would always hit a couple big shots and put them back down. And I don't know why, and I don't remember if this happened that much. You loved contact, the ability to drive, create contact, maybe to get to the line and stuff like that. You were on the floor more than I remember. A lot of it was just the fact of the aggressive way that you would play, trying to just create offense and things like that. That was your role on the team, and you did it exceptionally well. You came to Bethany back in 1994 from Atwater. Was it Atwater Cosmos Grove City at the time? Was that the amalgamate? Okay. You came to Bethany, And of course, we'll have others who'll talk about Dee Dee's playing days here at Bethany in a bit, but just to give you an update on Dee Dee, she has a degree in sports management, elementary education from Minnesota State University Mankato, and a master's degree in special education from Southwest Minnesota State over in Marshall. She currently resides and coaches in Montevideo, Minnesota, where she's a special education instructor and the varsity head basketball coach for the girls team there. And her husband Tim, who's also here along with the family, he's also a teacher and is the head varsity baseball coach there. And they have 3 children, and you guys are being champions hanging in here this evening. But now it's fun because we get to bring Mom up here in just a little bit. But the person who's going to bring Mom up is her former coach here at Bethany Lutheran College. That would be Lyle Jones.
I don't know if I can hang on to this and talk at the same time, and thanks for taking my speech. It's all gone now, but I told Don I was going to go off the reservation here a little bit because Dee Dee and Kelly both asked me to introduce them. So for me, it's just an honor to do that, and also an honor to have coached both of them during their years here. Also, to reiterate something Don said with the Hall of Fame choices, I mean, it's a process, and the cream rises to the top, and congratulations to all those people that are inducted here tonight. But going off the reservation here, I'm going to talk a little bit about both girls to start with, and then I'll get into the introduction of each one of those. But there's an element I think personally for me with these two, it's real special. They both had a monumental impact on the women's program, a monumental impact. And I don't know if people really realize that or if they realize that, but they did. They fundamentally changed the way the game was played. Women's basketball was played differently. And when they came along, the game changed, and they changed it to a different kind of game. We went to a very fast, up-tempo, blitzkrieg game where before it was kind of like dribbling the ball up the floor. So, and not only did they change that, they established some traditions of excellence that carried through to a lot of traditions that we have in the program today. So it's kind of a special thing there, I think, as I look at those two. Also, with that, I don't know if my math is right, but together, 4 years, 92-12. That's close to 90% win percentage. That's just unheard of. And it set a tradition at the school from then on. Also, 90 points, 55 points given up. Again, sets a tradition. It's a different type of game. They were game changers. They were pioneers. I don't believe you think that, but you were. You were pioneers of the game, especially here at the school. And you set a standard for how to get there, a tradition of how do you get there? How do you be that successful? How hard you have to work, and the dedication and sacrifice that you have to put out there to accomplish that. So now, also, one last thing about the two, and then I'm going to introduce Dee Dee here. People would say, well, what kind of players are they? Just cold-blooded assassins. I can't, that's it. I mean, coaches feared them. They just literally feared them. And I'll allude to that here a little bit later. But, Dee Dee, 3-point specialist. Don is stealing all my thunder here. With speed and quickness, penetration, and use those in combination that it was just deadly. Just deadly. I kind of, when I said assassins, when we just look at assassins on TV, they have a methodology, or they're really systematic in what they do. And so is Dee Dee. Real methodical, patient, calculating, strategic in every move, and then right at that particular time, the speed and quickness, and it was over. So that's kind of, when I use the word assassin, that's kind of how it was with Dee Dee when she played. And it was fun to watch. I mean, a lot of times when you coach, that's what you're doing, is coaching and coaching. But sometimes it's fun to just sit there and watch it go by. So a couple stories. One with Dee Dee is she came out as a freshman, a lean young lady. It's on the floor, and Jan Dorn, your dad there, I think he taught you how to shoot. And she would come out and shoot 2-footers, and then 4-footers. And she'd go like an arc, and she'd gradually get all the way back to the three-point line. And I know all the other girls were going, what in the world is going on? Detail the fundamentals. She was a sharp shooter, deadly when she touched the ball. So, thanks, Jan, for teaching her that. It was fun to watch and have her score that much. But Dee Dee set the bar, I think, for future players on the dedication, the sacrifice, the work ethic that they would have to put in so that we could emulate the success that we had. And he set the bar for that. And so it's kind of a pioneer, I think. And future players would emulate that work ethic, so to speak. So, again, a pioneer in getting those things done. Sometimes, as coaches, we look at, when the game's done, the bleachers are cleared, the locker rooms are cleared out. We hope that they take more away from the game than just the victories and the statistics and so forth. And I can tell you, the lessons of sportsmanship, character, dedication, the sacrifice for your team, and so forth, she got that, and she took it with her. And she applies it in her life today, and she is a head basketball coach at Montevideo, and I know you instill that into the young ladies that you coach there also. One last story on Dee Dee. Opposing coaches would do just about anything to stop her, and they couldn't. But the interesting thing is as she ran off a double screen or she flared off a screen, and the coach would be screaming her name where she was on the floor. And as the ball was going in the air, I could look down and watch that coach. When it was in the air, they just stopped. They were done talking because it was over before she even touched it. And that was fun to watch. And so it's, like I said, Don, you reiterated it a little earlier here, just a cold-blooded assassin from the arc is what it was like watching her and so forth. So the traditions that you set, being the pioneer of setting that work ethic, that bar up there, has really helped our program grow through the years to the point where we went from just winning, and then we were at the state, regional, and the national level. And setting that bar was just an awesome thing to watch and be a part of and coaching you. You're an integral part of that program. Today, you're still building our program. She's talking to players and encouraging them to come to our school. And I really thank you for that, being my first year back here. And so I will introduce to everybody here Dee Dee Epema as an inductee to the Hall of Fame.
Thanks, Coach, for the introduction, and I want to start by congratulating the other inductees here tonight. This is quite an honor, an exciting time for us. I also like to thank my teammates while I was here the 2 years at Bethany. We had a great group of girls to play with, and one thing with our teammates is we all worked hard together. It wasn't just for ourselves. We all played together as a team. I want to thank my parents and my brother and my other relatives that came out to all my games. They made the long trips out to support me and cheer for our team. That really meant a lot to have their support at those games. Let's see, not knowing what to say tonight, I contacted Don, and he kind of gave me a little agenda or thing I could follow. So I'm just gonna give some highlights from my career and talk about some of my influences along the way. I want to start with highlights when I was playing here at Bethany. The one thing that really stands out for me is winning the state tournament my freshman year. Growing up as a child, you spend hours and hours in that gym shooting and practicing and hoping and dreaming for that one day when you're going to win a state tournament and cut down the net. Unfortunately, in high school, I didn't get to do that, but when I came to Bethany, one of those dreams came true. Let's see. We finished our season my freshman year with 24 wins and 3 losses, and our team was ranked 10th in the nation offensively and defensively. That was another highlight from my time here at Bethany. Overall at Bethany, like Coach Jones said, we finished 44-8. All of that couldn't have come together without our teammates. My sophomore year, we had a lot of depth. We ran and ran and ran, like Coach said. Instead of just dribbling the ball up the floor and doing a lot of pass, we looked to push the ball. We ran a lot. It was just fun beating other teams up and down the floor and working together as a team to accomplish what we did in those 2 years. One thing I remember that stands out from practices was the number 16. Coach always had us running 16s, and to this day at practice, Coach, my girls know what a 16 is. And I take pride in having them run those because I'm not running them anymore. But those were good times. I had a lot of fun here, enjoyed playing with the girls that were here with me. Influences along the way, I've had quite a few. I've had a lot of good influences growing up. The first one was my dad. When I was thinking about who really influenced my career, my dad. He's played a lot of roles in my life. Starting out when I was younger, he was a teacher and a coach at the high school in our hometown. I got drugged to a lot of games, and that was where I first started loving the game of basketball. I got to go to his games while he was coaching. I even got to be the water girl. I remember toting the water bottles to all the players at halftime and in timeouts, and that was just really cool, I thought. And then I'd go to his practices and watch the girls practice, and then I also got to shoot along the sidelines while they practiced, and that just watching him interact with those girls really, made him stand out as one of the people in my lives that really made a difference. Another thing, he was a coach. He also was my elementary basketball coach. He took me to many basketball games whenever I wanted to go. He always took me to a game so I could go watch. He also had access to the gym 24/7. If I wanted to shoot, which I wanted to practice a lot, he would take me to the gym whenever I wanted to shoot. He also ended up being my high school basketball coach, which was pretty cool. Not a lot of people can say they got to play for their dad during high school. Once college was done and I got a job, my dad was coaching for my hometown still at ACGC, and I was the assistant coach at Montevideo. I got to coach against my dad also, which was a different role he played. It was fun coaching against him. I don't even remember who won. Do you remember? You won one? So we got to coach against each other, and then a couple of years later, I was named the head coach of Montevideo, and now he is my assistant coach. So he has done a lot of different roles in my life, and this last one here, being my assistant coach, has been a lot of fun the last couple of years. So the next person I thought of when I was thinking about influences on my career was my JV basketball coach and our neighbor growing up, Jeff Tanner. Coach Tanner was an elementary teacher and a coach at my school, high school. He was always able to get us to work hard. When you have 9th and 10th grade girls, sometimes that's not a treat. I coached 9th and 10th grade girls, and there were some days I was thinking I want to just go home and not be at practice today because they were moody and catty and whatever. But Coach Tanner always came to practice and was happy and just found a way to get us to work, and made things fun by maybe naming a play something silly and we thought that was fun or whatever. He could always get us to have a smile. Coach Tanner, in the last 15 years, has had some health issues. And due to some of those health issues, he had to have surgery. And during one of his surgeries, he lost sight in his left eye. Went through chemo, radiation. He ended up having a tumor. And I think he just had a surgery last year to remove part of the tumor again. And it's stage 3, I don't remember what they called it, stage 3 meningioma, which means he has a cancerous tumor, but it's not likely to spread to other parts of his body. Anybody who has to go through something like that could easily find a way to just say, oh, poor me, poor me, feel sorry for me. But Coach Tanner took some time off to have his surgeries and recover, but as soon as he could, he returned back to work, and he hasn't changed. He's still that same guy. I remember coaching me in junior high, in high school, and he's still that happy neighbor that I remember growing up. So he is a true testament to what God wants us to do, is to go out and help others no matter what is bothering us or what we're going through. He's always looking to help others. The last person I want to talk about is Coach Jones. I can still remember that first week of practice. I don't know if Coach can. It's a long time ago. But anytime you make a transition from like junior high to B squad or B squad to varsity, it's a big jump. And when you make that transition from varsity to college, it's an even bigger jump. And I just remember going to practice the first day, and I thought, man, I'm working as hard as I can. I'm really going to impress him, and just busting my tail. He's going to be so excited. And all I could hear Coach saying was, faster, faster, come on, get there, faster. Unhook the plow, Dorn, let's go. And I'm sitting there thinking, come on, I am doing the best I can do. And all he would do was say, faster, faster. It wasn't good enough. That happened for a couple days. I remember leaving practice each day having this sick feeling in my stomach, and it wasn't a sick feeling from I had worked too hard. It was a sick feeling from I don't think I'm going to make the team. I remember getting back to the dorm room, calling my dad and pleading with him, like, I'm not going to make the team, Dad. Coach is always hounding me. I'm not working hard enough. I'm not fast enough. I'm just not good enough to make the team here. And I wanted my dad to come get me because I said, maybe I can make it at Ridgewater, which was about 12 miles from our town. I said, Ridgewater or Augsburg? They would take me, Dad. And he said, you know what? Why don't you just stick it out? See what happens. So I took his advice, and I kept going back to practice. And after that first week, Coach had individual meetings with us, and he sat me down, and I thought, here it is. He's going to tell me, sorry, you're not going to make the team, but thanks for coming. He told me, you know what? I see you starting at the 2. I kind of looked like, is he kidding me? I see you starting at the 2, and you're going to get lots of playing time. And I just about fell over. I thought, is he kidding me? Because he's been hounding me all week at practice, saying I'm not fast enough, I'm not doing things good enough. And he said, you know what, I have to make sure you're mentally tough enough for the role. So I thank you for pushing me, and I'm glad I stuck with it, because those 2 years here at Bethany were some of the best years of my life. Let's see. My years at Bethany, when I reflect back and think about my 2 years here, they've helped me to shape me into the wife, the mother, the teacher and coach that I am today. I learned a lot about determination and hard work through Coach Jones and through everybody here on campus. And then I learned that it'll pay off in all aspects of my life, not just basketball, but work, raising my family and things like that. In closing, I'd like to say that I'm thankful I got the opportunity to become a part of the Bethany family. The professors, coaches, administrators, custodians, cooks, and everybody here on campus does an awesome job. I know walking across campus, you might see a professor, and they always took the time to stop and say hi, or just smile and wave at you, and that meant a lot. You don't get that everywhere you go. Bethany truly is a family community. And I think that's it. if that's okay. All right, thank you.
All right. So we got this player, Dorn. She's a gunner. She can score, and she does a lot here when she's on our campus, but we're a two-year school, and she graduates, and the cupboard gets a little bare. My wife, who's here with me tonight, Beth, my wife's from Belle Plaine, so I know a little bit about the Minnesota River Conference through my wife, and my wife, being from Belle Plaine, does not really like a lot of people from Jordan, okay? There is a rather intense rivalry when it comes to a play. So Coach Jones comes back and he says, hey, I think there's these sisters, and they can play, and one's good, and the one is, they're both good, but the one's really a pretty good player. And so for a couple years, we get to enjoy the talents of Kelly Koepp Peters. I do remember Kelly, and Kelly, you were, the best way that I can describe this, from my perspective, for a while, if you remember the World Series and the Twins won, and Kirby Puckett shows up in the locker room on Game 6, and he says, you know what, I got this one, I'm carrying this team, don't worry about it, we're going to get to Game 7. Kirby Puckett was the type of player that he could, on a night, carry a team. You could get on his back, and he was going to bring you home. Off the court, nice, quiet. On the court, tenacious. She could score from the outside. She could score from the baseline. She could drive. She could play defense inside. She didn't mind mixing it up. And really, that's a lot. And Lyle, I hope I'm not stealing your thunder on this one as well. You're shaking your head. You were a fantastic player. For 2 years, watching the opportunity, you gave me a different perspective on athletes from Jordan, Minnesota. I don't know if I can say something more complimentary than that, because you were just obviously a fantastic player, and again, another one, just like everybody else tonight, very deserving of coming into our Athletic Hall of Fame. After Bethany, Kelly went to University of South Dakota in Vermillion, graduating with a degree in psychology, later earning a master's degree in occupational therapy from the College of St. Catherine. She's opened up her own private practice of occupational therapy clinic called Sunny Days Therapy, and that was opened in 2006. And she and her husband, John, have 4 children, and they reside up in Victoria, Minnesota. Let's hear more about Kelly from her coach, Lyle Jones.
She could hurt you from the inside. Yeah, it's okay. You took it all again. I struggled to find the word for these two, and the assassin is it. And you alluded to it here. Inside, outside, penetrate. If we took a stat, and I've got a lot of stories, I got a few on Kelly here, but if you took stats on 3-pointers, well, Dee just had a ton, but Kelly had them the hard way, meaning she would score the 2-point and get fouled and hit the 3. If we kept stats on that, I think you'd have a national record. It was astounding how many 3-point plays she had and making the free throw. Just astounding on that. Not too many of these people come along, what I call pioneers that changed the game. And again, you came right after Dee. And again, I think you were a pioneer here and changed the game again and took it to an even higher level. There comes a time, it's been said that there comes a time in a game when your opponent will look you in the eyes, and what they see will determine the outcome. And I would see and look into her eyes, because she would have a look. And I tried to figure out what words that I could put to that. And it was determination, strength. I just couldn't come up with the right word. And I think it's this. When you see that look, she's basically saying, I'm going to do what I need to do here, and there's nothing you're going to be able to do to stop it. That was the look. And there were games that, I think it might have been a championship at the state tournament, and I looked over to our assistant coach and said, "It's over." I go, "What do you mean it's over?" And we go, "It's got the look. It's over." And it was over. So, but a lot of different words can explain her also. With her leadership was infectious on the team. The desire to excel both on and off the floor. Always moving forward, never backwards, always looking ahead at the next obstacle or task, and seizing that opportunity and taking it over. Sometimes coaches will say to me, sometimes they'll go, "Do you like these players that have an edge, or they're kind of really cocky or confident?" Well, when I look at that with Kelly, she's never cocky, but I think the word that I'd put here is she's got a little devilish attitude to her. And I'll give you a story. We played this team. They were always very good, Anoka Ramsey. And she came out of the locker room, and me and Coach Fessler were sitting on the bench after the game, and we had beaten them. And she come by and said, "Hey, Coach Fessler, do you have any ice? My elbow is really sore from shooting." She had 44 that night. In fact, that's the second highest scoring in school's history. And she wasn't done there with Paul. She also said, "Thanks for those last 2 points. Those are the sweetest. Those are the 2 where he got kicked out of the game." And they ended up being national champions that year. So it wasn't where she was getting 44 points against maybe a lower ranked team. They were national champions that year. So I don't know if you call that a little devilish there, Kelly, or you like to spar a little bit with some coaches. But again, she's very methodical in her approach and her style, maybe a little different. Overpowering, overworking, outsmarting her opponent, and then taking advantage of that. As far as leadership goes, a story that I have on this one is just an awesome one. State championship game where I believe we're up by 2. 6 seconds or 7 seconds left. They call a timeout. Again, it was Anoka Ramsey. And I figured, okay, he's either going to go for the quick 3. If he doesn't get it, they're going inside and try to get a 2 and tie this thing up. So he calls a timeout. Our girls are sprinting to the bench. So I'm thinking, all right, we're going to switch every screen, and we're going to contain, and we're just going to have to do it that way, and we cannot help anybody on penetration. We just have to contain. As I was stepping into the huddle, I heard this coming from Kelly. "We didn't work our blank off all year to lose this thing now." And a few other things she said. I didn't have much to say after that, just about switching the screens and so forth. But again, after the timeout, I turned to my assistant coach because I saw what was in her eyes and said, "We won. It was over." You had the killer instinct, the relentless work ethic, and I would say you were merciful, but only after we had beaten someone. You're just a great representative on and off the floor for us at the college here. I want to thank you for being one of those pioneers, and very few of those come along in a coach's career. Changed the game, and you set and forged the path for a lot of our future players. And I want to thank you for that. And I'll introduce Kelly Peters as the next inductee.
I have a whole speech here too, but I can't stop laughing because as Dee Dee was talking about calling her dad and how Coach Jones was on her tail the first couple weeks of practice. I called my parents saying the exact same thing. I wasn't cut out to play college basketball. I shouldn't have done this. There's no way I'm going to make the team. Same thing happens. So I think we should call him the assassin, maybe. I don't know. But I think as I've listened to everybody come up here, and congratulations, I've heard everybody talk about all the influences in their lives, and I think it just goes without saying that none of us could be here without the great support and love that we've had from family and friends to help us along the way. And first and foremost, I'd like to thank my parents who are here tonight, especially now that I have 4 children of my own, 4 daughters, by the way. I can see the amount of time, energy, and patience that goes into, let alone getting the community ed book in the mail and picking out and helping them decide what activities they want to try, but then getting them signed up for it, and then getting them practice, and then getting the shoes they need, and the helmets, and the ice skates, and anything else that they might need. So while I was so incredibly thankful at the time for everything that you have done, had done for me, having 4 children of my own, I'm just blown away at the commitment that you put in and the opportunities that you gave me to help me achieve my goals. So thank you for that. I won't go much more into the story about calling home because I was already homesick, and then the assassin here, who's, work hard, you can do it, come on. I called home crying, like I said, saying that this isn't for me, and thank goodness I stuck with it because I loved every minute of it, loved every practice, no matter how grueling it was, and every minute I got to spend at Bethany, so thank you. I'd also like to thank my high school basketball coach just for teaching me that it was an honor and a privilege to step on the court every day and to never take that for granted, and to encourage me to go on to play college basketball. There was something in my mind that Dee Dee had said, you have that big goal of going to play the state tournament, and we just didn't make it to that point. And I feel like at that point, I was thinking, there's no way I'm going to go on and play college basketball. Nope, nobody knows who we are. Nobody even knows where Jordan is. And Lyle walked into Jordan that day and chatted with me a bit, and then I took the tour and encouraged me to come here, and I'm so happy that he did that because it was a blessing. Moving on to other important influences, Lyle really, for people here that have seen his practice before, it's all run by a timer, and it's run by 16s, as Dee Dee had mentioned, but it really teaches you that teamwork and that working towards a common goal, because if one person didn't make it, we were all doing it again. We were all running the grill again, and we were getting timed again. Not only were we going to do it again, we had to make it in a certain amount of time. So that determination and working towards a common goal is something that I carry with me today. And also a little bit of a story about that, teaching the work ethic and the respect for the game, but also respect for the gym that you play in. One of our players, I think it was a practice after you're back from Thanksgiving, so everybody who plays knows what those kind of practices are like. You ate all week long, and I think Lyle even set out garbage cans around the gym because we knew it was going to be hard. And so after running and doing whatever, she goes over into the corner and clears her throat a little bit and kind of spits. And here we're all thinking, oh, we are going to be in big trouble for this, because Lyle saw it, and we're all thinking, we're all running, we're on the line. Thank goodness this happened to be one time where this particular individual only had to run by herself, and then after the practice she got to mop the whole gym. So again, teaching you a true respect for the game. And after Bethany, I guess another thank you for helping me put the videos together and whatnot to go on to continue to play at USD. Another great experience for me, but I remember being so incredibly nervous those first couple of weeks coming from a junior college, going to play at that level, and was I ready, and all of those things. And it was very scary, but I had a blast, and definitely Bethany had prepared me for that, and Coach Lyle had prepared me for that. But Coach Lavin was my coach then. One of the biggest things he taught me was how to play hard defense, and how talent can only take you so far, and you have to go the rest of the way with your heart. And a couple weeks into practice, we were doing all the drills and the plyometrics, all the things that you do, conditioning to get ready for the season. And we're going along. We're probably 20 minutes into it, and Coach Lavin kind of calls us in, come on, girls, come on over here. And we all come over, and he kind of has this sarcastic look on his face. I didn't know him that well at the time, so I wasn't sure what was coming. And he puts his hand up in the air, and he says, Koepp, which was my nickname, come here, give me a high five. And he starts clapping, and he says, way to go, you were the first one down the court. Every time you were first one, you beat everybody else at the drills. And I'm kind of looking, I'm like, is this a compliment or where are we going with this? And then he stops and he pauses and he kind of smiles and he says, interesting to me that she's one of the slowest players on the team and the first one down the court every time. About the worst thing that he could have said to a new player coming in trying to win the respect of all the other players that had already been there. But anyway, I mean, he just said a great point, and that's something that I'll never forget, that I wasn't the fastest player, and I will fully admit that I was not the fastest player, but I did play with heart, and I had a love for the game, and Bethany and USC just kind of exasperated that and brought it further for me. What else here? Also, my husband, who's here tonight, thank you for sticking with me. My boyfriend at the time, but didn't get to see a lot of each other during those 4 years. He went to the University of Minnesota, and I was at University of South Dakota. And funny story for me, but not so much for him. He had a Mustang convertible because he was so cool, and I think he probably got about 4 or 5 tickets. I'm saying because he was speeding to get to me, but driving that Mustang on the way to South Dakota from Mankato and Jordan area. So thank you for taking those tickets, taking one for the team. Finally, my fellow teammates, student body, and supporters that came to watch the games, professors and coaches for making Bethany a true blessing for me. It was such an honor to be here. And again, to be here tonight, I kind of got the itch to go back over to the gym and play here. And we'll definitely be back for the alumni game. So now if I say it up here, that's holding me to coming back for the alumni game. But again, not only for the athletics, but the friendships that I made, the spiritual connections, and allowing me to maintain my close family connections. They were only about 40 minutes away, so I got to come to a lot of games. But the advantages of playing college basketball and attending Bethany have definitely stuck through with me throughout my life and in every aspect. And for that, I'm forever grateful. So thank you for this opportunity and for this honor tonight.
I was, when I came back to Bethany in 1993 to start working, I was in the admissions office and was in that office for about 20 years and was the dean of admissions. And one of the things that we always talked about a lot was here on our campus, the ability to be a multi-sport athlete. The fact that you could come here and, if you want to pursue things beyond just one sport, you would have that opportunity. And we've had a number of athletes do that over the years. I don't know that we've had certainly less than a handful of athletes who did it to the caliber that you did. Not just one, not just two, but 3 sports. So you literally were in a varsity sport from day one. In fact, probably with volleyball, you got here before the students moved on campus. And hopefully for softball season, you'd end up pretty, near the end of the school year. So the fact that you're able to come and play 3 sports, very rare. Testimony to your time management skills, a lot of those attributes, multitasking that we still talk about today, you were a visualization of that back in your days at Bethany. And the fact that for 2 of the sports, you weren't just an all-division player. And the all-division is a significant honor. There's no doubt about that. But the fact that you were able for 2 of the sports to earn all NJCAA national honors and regional honors in that regard really, again, is a true indication of the type of athletic ability and the skills that go along with that you were able to display for us for the couple of years. And I know you had an injury at one point during the career here, and so who knows what could have happened, but nonetheless, over your 2 years on the campus, you truly, made a mark. I do have to say on a personal, before I forget, I have had the opportunity to know your family, very supportive of Bethany and Christian education, and your dad, I know, was just tremendously proud for you to be here tonight. He talked about this for years, so if nothing else, Paul, we got her in, we're good to go, and I don't necessarily have to hear that from him anymore. We'll just make sure that the picture is nicely illuminated and things like that in the trophy case over in the Hall of Fame. Lisa, after playing sports here at Bethany, went on to Gustavus Adolphus up the road in St. Peter, playing basketball and softball, obviously continuing her athletic accolades, and graduating with a degree in biology. Today she works as the lead salesperson for Strategic Employee Benefit Services of the Northwestern Mutual Bohannon Group in Metro and Southern Minnesota. And she currently resides up in New Brighton with her husband Rich and their children Perry and Annalise. And also privileged here as I get a chance to not only just talk about Lisa Scamehorn a little bit, but also Ruth Ann, very nice to have you back here on campus and in order to introduce. And I also want to acknowledge your basketball coach here tonight as well, Dave Weekman as well, but also we want to give some time here to the presenter for Lisa, and we'll bring up our former coach here for many sports here at Bethany Lutheran College, Ruth Ann Nyhus.
I'm really pleased and honored to be able to introduce Lisa tonight. And what a big deal to be in the Athletic Hall of Fame. I would have to say that I'm here to celebrate not only her successes as an athlete, but her successes as a student, as a person, as a friend, as a mother, and as a wife. I will tell you it was a different day and a different time when she was here. We were pretty excited that we got bag lunches from the food service before our matches. I think our team was always hungry, and Lisa was always hungry. I think she finished up all those bag lunches. And then Ron Young was AD at that time. We were pretty excited when we, rather than $2.50 per person, we got $3 after a game to go to a local fast food restaurant. Whew, we were moving up in the big time there. When we were here, there was just a couple of buildings, and Lisa and her family and I got to tour today prior because we were here a little bit early. And we're just kind of amazed because we just kind of knew this building and the gymnasium, periodically the library, and that wrapped it. That was it on this campus. We always traveled in a white van, a very small white van. We were crammed in there at all times. Ron, you lived this as well. But we were chuckling that the vans are still white when we walked by them. The entertainment was a boombox in the van. It wasn't an iPod or anything else. And we had a ton of fun at the same time. The coaches were always the athletic trainers. And I would have to say that I taped up Lisa many a time. I think one game she went to the game on crutches, but she played. I don't know if I used duct tape or something else to make sure that she played at all times. It was a different day and a different time that athletes played more than one sport, and Lisa played basketball, volleyball, and softball. She played volleyball and basketball the first year, had a little knee surgery, and came back the next year to play 3 sports. The best part of this is that she was an amazing athlete in all 3 of them, and she was a leader. She earned many, many division, state, and regional honors. She was an outstanding athlete. As I was getting ready for this speech, the one thing that kept on coming back to me was that Lisa was a leader. She lived the lifestyle of being a leader. Everything that she did was a leader. She lived and breathed it. She had an attitude to win. She always believed that whatever playing field she walked on, that team was going to win. She had a conviction to win. The North Hennepin coach would always say, "We should have beat you." We should have beat you. And I'd always just smile and say, no. We were small. We didn't have size. But my goodness, we could win. And that was due to Lisa. Whatever she wanted to do, she made happen. She had a work ethic. She came early, stayed late. Sounds like all of the people that are being honored tonight. She was willing to improve herself. No one worked harder than that. She took ownership for a failed play, but always gave credit to her teammates when it was a successful play. She was an impact player. She had a vivacious personality. She was a multifaceted athlete. She knew that we would win the next point when we would need to win. She was that impact player. A player was never dead. She kept it alive to win the point. She was telling her daughter that, I guess, and I don't remember this, so it's a good thing athletes remind you of those things, that as a setter, the second ball was always hers. And she was telling her daughter that I would throw the ball anywhere in the gym and Lisa had to get it, and she had to hustle, and she was absolutely outstanding. I think she was a really resilient leader. Ill or injured, Lisa was going to play. She probably played when she shouldn't have, but she was going to play. She was a player and a leader who believed in herself in a very confident manner, but she also believed in her teammates, and she convinced them to be winners as well. She was a never-ending leader with a positive spirit. She has an infectious laugh, a brilliant smile, and a constant twinkle in those blue eyes. She loved being an athlete, and she was fun to work with. She dove on the floor, she strategized the next play, she encouraged her teammates, she made everyone laugh with her antics on and off the court. She was the person to be around. She was a leader who had passion. After going every play, she had passion towards making good friends here at Bethany. She had passion for studying and doing the right thing. She had passion for her religion. She was just an all-around wonderful leader. She went after it all here at Bethany. I'm super pleased to introduce Lisa Willems Scamehorn as a leader and an athlete and a student at Bethany Lutheran College, one of the smartest setters I have ever coached. She was a joy to coach and to be around. She brought out the best in everyone around her. She still lights up the room with her laughter, her smile, and enthusiasm. And I am just so honored to be able to introduce Lisa Willems Scamehorn as the next inductee into Athletics Hall of Fame.
Well, this is tough, being the last one of a long night. You probably all have to go to the bathroom, so I'm glad that I just wrote down a few things. It's been a long time since I was here at Bethany, 25 years ago, and I was thinking of things that have changed. And for one, I normally have an enormous family around me. I have 4 brothers and a sister, which they would like some credit for the athlete I was, because I am the shortest one of the family. My children will soon surpass me. So at 5'8", I am very short. I normally wear heels. But they all coach. They're all at activities right now. My parents are leaders. They are the chair of their 50th college anniversary party tonight, reunion party. My in-laws wanted to come. They're also leaders. They're chairing their college reunion as well in Indiana. So I'm just happy for my family skipping their activities tonight, getting my daughter out of volleyball practice so she could be here with me. This is just wonderful. But when I think back of my days at Bethany, I think about all of the people who helped me. And I drove onto campus. My parents didn't move me into school. They said, hey, good, we have an extra bed at home now. And they moved into my bed and took my dresser before I was even to Mankato from 30 minutes away in New Ulm. And I drove in here with my Dodge Omni. I found some people to help me move up to my dorm room. And I started getting to know people. And Ruth, it's funny that you say that. My laugh and my smile is infectious, because one of the first things I remember about Ruth, other than practicing, putting in the time, running, doing those things, was I would never smile when I played. Ever, 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 ever. I never smiled. And she's like, what's wrong? What's bothering you? And I'm like, what? I'm happy. I'm doing great. We got to win. And I would never smile. And so she encouraged me to smile. She taught me I had to smile. I had the first ulcer of my life my freshman year at Bethany. During the volleyball season, there was no reason for it. We were winning. We were doing great. We had a small, cohesive team. I loved the girls that we traveled in those cramped vans with. I loved the oatmeal raisin cookies. Nobody liked oatmeal raisin. I was just happy to have food. My brothers weren't here to steal my food from me. And so those are the things that I remember about Bethany, is the people who cared about you, who taught you how to be a better person that still is today. I also would like to make an appeal to Art. When I wrecked my knee and I had to have surgery, Art took me on, and I should probably go into Hall of Fame as the best ever baseball stats taker, don't you think? So Art took me under his wing because I couldn't sit around for a season and not be involved with sports. So I traveled with the boys' baseball team, and I kept the best stats ever, which is great because I married a statistician, so he's very appreciative of my ability to keep stats. But I think of those things, Art being there for me, Ron being there for me, teaching me in biology. I was remembering a chemistry class today as I walked through the building, and all of the people who impacted you and led you to be who you are today. And I think about those things. I was resilient. If nothing else, I was always hurt. I really don't know how I ever made it through a season and played, but I refused to be hurt enough to not play. So from the time I was a senior in high school till the time I graduated from Gustavus, I had 7 concussions. They would never allow that anymore. I mean, I couldn't even say my name sometimes, and I still played basketball. So I am glad at least that I could travel through that. I've had 4 knee surgeries. I've broken my leg and had 2 surgeries as a result of that. So I'm barely holding on here, but I'm resilient and I keep coming back. And it helps me through my life as I think of that resilience. When you don't get the job you want, when your kids are trying to be born. I had 2 very difficult pregnancies, and thank goodness they're both here, they're healthy, they're wonderful, and I think about making it through that. You don't let life get you down, you just keep going on. I'm persistent, tireless, tenacious. You know, some people use a different word for that, you know, every once in a while, but I don't like to lose. I don't like to not be good at what I do. I really think that that's what we got from Bethany. We weren't here, maybe we didn't always get A's in our classes, but we went to class, we did our homework, we studied for tests. You know, I'm walking around this beautiful campus, and there was one other building on campus you didn't mention, and now, I know I have Anthony to thank for this, but there was a boys' dormitory. And I did enjoy visiting the boys' dormitory on Sundays between noon and 7 or whatever was our time zone. But I was very active with the men's basketball team. I enjoyed playing basketball. I thought I could beat any guy anytime anyway. But I did date for a while a gentleman from Milwaukee who was a very good basketball player here, and that was a great part of why I was at Bethany. You were in the classroom or in the gym. There was really nowhere else to be. And so that was just a wonderful part about being here and learning to be a strong individual. I think listening to all of you share today, you all are successful in what you do. You're all strong people, strong personalities, and that's great. You're surrounded by tons of people who love you. And I think that's what we get from being athletes, is we get this time management, we get this joy with everybody around us, and we got to put a ball in a hoop. I got to set and spike. My kids are still amazed that I could jump more than 4 inches off the ground at one point, but we do have pictures of it. Joe Madsen's not here tonight because he's also giving back to his community. He coaches his son in football, but he was my softball coach, and my dear friend Shannon, who played volleyball with me, said, well, Lisa, I'm a pitcher. And I'm like, well, I'm a pitcher. And she's like, well, let's see who's a better pitcher. She was a better pitcher. And I'm looking around, I'm like, well, I want to play softball, I love hitting. And she's like, well, why don't you catch for me? And Joe was there, and he was about 2 years older than us, and, you know, drop dead, 6'4", blue eyes, blonde hair, we're all in college having fun. And he's like, well, how can you just start catching and be a catcher if you've never caught before? This is college softball. And I'm like, oh, I'm sure we'll figure it out. And sure enough, in that way, at Bethany at that time, that was the 2nd year of softball that the school had. So I think about, they never had softball before. Here we are, we're being a competitive team with very few girls. My freshman year was the first year they had a 3-point line. So if you can imagine that, I think that's great for you guys, because if I wouldn't have had to go inside and bang around with 6'2" girls to score points, that would have been great. I would have been a 3-point shooter every day of my life. But we didn't have that. We had a trial run when I was in high school in Minnesota that you couldn't foul out. You could not foul out in a basketball game. Could you imagine? I still hold the record of 9 fouls in one game. And it's great. I wish my high school would put it up on the wall because it was just a technical foul after that. So how fun would that be? So things have changed. Things are different, but we're all strong individuals. We're all persistent in what we do. We have resilience. We're not going to be broken down. And we're here because hundreds of people have influenced us. And if you take anything from this, hopefully you're giving back to your communities. You're giving back to the young ladies on the basketball court. And that's really what gives us joy in our hearts, to just turn full circle and give that all back to everybody. So I am very honored to be here. I think it's fun. I'm so old I can't even imagine getting back on a basketball court and playing without hurting myself. And so it's wonderful to just be here, accept this honor, watch this beautiful campus has become, and these people out here walking around with so full of hope and joy, and it's truly a blessing. So thank you.
It has been a fun night for me. I'm sure a lot of you would say the same thing. There's some great stories, some differences that we've heard about, but again, that common theme of athletic competition, the life lessons that it's taught us, the importance of Bethany, the community, the mentorship that now a lot of you experience here as athletes, that role that you've assumed as you moved on with your adult life, and certainly again the Christian focus and the foundation of what Bethany, its motto, the one thing needful, and again how that message continues to perpetuate through all of you. And I know that as the director of athletics here at Bethany, it's something that we talk about in every athletic meeting, about making a difference, sometimes great, sometimes small, sometimes you don't realize it, for years or even decades down the road. But the importance of athletic competition and how that can translate into different roles in life, critically important, and you've all done just a fantastic job of showing that to us over the years, carrying on the Bethany message, and certainly articulating that here this evening. And again, congratulations to all the winners. You are another wonderful representation of what Bethany Lutheran College athletics is all about. So thank you very much for your attendance. We look forward to seeing you down the road.